I just need to be smart. I just need to know what RT-PCR testing is. I need to know what Trump has said. I need to know about rhetoric and stuff. Okay.
It's big brain time. Oh my gosh. My dearest sister, Alex, without an E. Just say Alex. You don't like extra vowels.
Correct.
So I heard that we're having a stimulus bill, right?
Yes.
And because I am but a young lass, I don't know anything about taxes.
True.
But I've heard that the stimulus bill is just an early tax refund. So, and that we have to pay it back. Well, not me, but people that pay taxes.
Because you are but a young lass.
Yes, because I'm but a young lass. So please tell me, is that true?
Well, no, it is not.
Oh,
the end.
Okay.
So taxes, there's 3 categories of getting money back with taxes, kind of. So there's the deduction, where you're actually reducing the amount of income that's taxable, which ends up lowering your taxes. Then there's the tax credit, where it's literally just crediting you money towards the taxes that you owe, therefore reducing the amount you owe. And then there's also the tax refund. The tax refund doesn't really have to do with the deductions or the credit, other than the fact that whatever your taxes come out to be, if you overpaid throughout the year, then you get a refund back because you paid too much. So this is actually a tax credit. The stimulus check is a tax credit for the year 2020, which we file in April 2021. And the stimulus check is not something we have to pay back. And it's also not taxable income. So it literally is free money. In 2021, when you're filing for tax year 2020, if you underpaid your taxes, you're going to have to pay extra money. And if you overpaid your taxes, you're still going to get a refund. And the stimulus check has literally no bearing on that. Myth busted.
Hang on a second. I'm so dumb. Okay, I've got it. I've painted the picture.
Right.
I am an artist. So basically, I've seen a lot of articles and heard a lot of people saying that if you get the virus, you can basically immediately get it again right after you've recovered.
Mm-hmm.
And that if you do get it again, it's more deadly. That doesn't make any sense. That's not how your body works. That's not how viruses work. There were a few cases in, I think, Japan and China where people were saying, I recovered and then I pretty much immediately got sick again. So as far as we know, that should not be possible. So the assumption in those cases would be that maybe they weren't actually recovered, or there's some sort of issue going on there. But you shouldn't be able to get it twice right after you recover. When you get a virus, your body will produce antibodies which help combat the virus. That's how your immune system works. It's how it prevents you from getting sick with the same thing over and over again. It should be pretty much impossible for you to get the coronavirus twice in a row. In fact, we have a clip of Fauci talking about this. So, oh gosh, my joke's I'm going to make it anyway. Take it away, Fauci.
If this virus acts like every other virus we know, which we have no reason to believe it will not, that once you are infected and you clear the infection successfully and you're well, you will be protected against subsequent exposure to the same virus. We haven't definitively proven that by any re-challenging of people, but it just makes virological sense, since that's what we see with virtually any other virus.
I've also seen a lot of articles just claiming this with absolutely no basis, saying that, oh no, our bodies aren't going to make antibodies. We're going to have to wait for a vaccine. Otherwise, we're all going to die, which is ridiculous. Vaccines are just a way to introduce something to your body so that it can produce antibodies. So if your body can't do that naturally, it won't be able to do it with the help of a vaccine, and we're all doomed. That's what I have to say.
It's worth mentioning that the reason they can make this claim is because it has not been proven one way or the other. Just like every other claim, it's like, well, the jury's still out. We don't know if you can catch it immediately after you just had it.
So trust us.
But that's not how viruses work. So you can either have immunity for a short period of time or a long period of time or your entire life, but you can't just not have antibodies. And if that were true, viruses, or I mean, not viruses,
Would kill
vaccines
us.
wouldn't be effective anyway.
You might think to yourself, why can I get the flu twice? Why can I have multiple colds? The answer is there's a lot of different strains of those things. And your body has to produce different antibodies for all of those different strains. So while it's possible for you to get the flu twice or a couple of different types of colds, it shouldn't be possible for you to specifically get this twice consecutively.
You can't catch the same virus that causes a cold twice in one season. You might be able to get it next year or something, but
Myth busted. My buddies, because I have so many buddies, we were talking the other day, but not too closely because that would be bad.
From 6 feet apart.
One of my buddies, they were like, you know what? I think Trump's doing all right with this. And, I don't think it's his fault that that there was kind of a hang up with the testing because he inherited bad tests from Obama. And I went, whoa, Daryl. How does that make any sense? Because the coronavirus wasn't around when Obama was in office, at least that we know of. So there weren't tests for it. So how could it be that that Trump inherited bad test for the coronavirus when the coronavirus wasn't even around? So naturally, Daryl and I aren't friends anymore because he's too pro-Trump. But anyway.
Yeah, the virus didn't even exist when Obama was president. So how could Trump have inherited the test for it? And everyone thinks this is a slam dunk burn because duh. But no,
duh,
actually.
Daryl.
So the CDC has actually used a type of testing for many years. I believe it was used on past pandemics. And it's called RT-PCR testing. So basically what the CDC does is they send out sample kits, or test kits rather, and somebody dressed in full PPE will take a swab from the back of your nose/throat, and that swab will be put into a liquid. Yes, it will be put into your nose flesh. And then that swab will be preserved in a liquid and shipped back to the CDC lab. And there's only 12 CDC labs, I believe, in America. So obviously that takes a little while. Then once the CDC gets that sample, they have to thermoregulate it and they have to literally read the RNA from the sample and then fabricate the DNA, the complementary DNA, in order to find out if you have the virus. Now, that's a super complex process, which I'm pretty sure I'm simplifying, and it's got way more components than that. But basically, that's kind of a long time and a really complex process for you have it or you don't. And because the CDC isn't a manufacturing plant, they're just a lab, they can't get out millions and millions of these swabs and reagents and tests and all of this because they're just not built for it. So the CDC was not prepared for an epidemic of this size where millions of people need to be tested really quickly. And that's actually kind of an agreed upon fact. As a matter of fact, I was reading this article where they were trying to say Trump is spinning the inherited broken tests thing. And then the entire article goes on to prove that the CDC was not prepared to handle a pandemic like this. And that's exactly Trump's point when he says that he inherited a broken system. He inherited a system that was not prepared to handle a pandemic because it cannot output enough tests, and the tests that it can output are really complicated. Granted, they're accurate and they're really sensitive, so they'll pick up even if you don't have a lot of the virus, but it's not great for a pandemic.
Interesting. I guess I have an apology.
You have to go talk to Daryl now.
Yeah, I do.
In addition to it being really slow to ship, there's also a ton of regulation. So even though the CDC couldn't handle such big output as we needed, they also couldn't tell private companies to go produce more tests because it was under regulation, which they changed February 29th. So I think what Trump was referring to when he said it was broken was that the test was too regulated and we couldn't get enough people to make it because of those regulations. Plus, the test itself was really slow to come back with an answer. Granted, that's kind of bad rhetoric to say that it's a broken system when really it's a fine system. It's just not good for this specific situation. And then
I would
it's
like
kind
to
of
jump in
okay. Go
for
ahead.
just a second and say that trying to criticize Trump based on his rhetoric is something that's been happening since he was elected, and I think it's pretty clear by now that he isn't the most eloquent person. So people need
Just
to maybe
accept
look.
it about him that he's not a good speaker.
It's not gonna change.
I think he's meaning the type of testing because his rhetoric changed from broken system to broken test the same day that Abbott released a new kind of test. So they released a new test on March 30th, and it was shown on the press conference, and that's the same day that Trump switched to saying, oh, we had broken tests and now we have great tests. And this new test can give you a result within 15 minutes. And it's not the same type of test, and it's point of care. You can go into your doctor's office and get tested, get your results immediately, and it's kind of better. So I don't think it's that weird that he would say, oh, we had bad tests, now we have good tests, because the test did change. So no, he's not being insane by saying that he inherited the exact test for SARS-CoV-2, which causes COVID-19, a virus that didn't exist before. He's saying that, we had a testing system, we had a type of test that didn't work for us, and now we have a test that does work for us. Myth busted.
Yeah. Wow, that was so strong. I'm gonna cry. You were so confident.
Oh, wow. Oh, wait. I've got to say 3 more things. I forgot. So,
Save my tears.
I do want to add... yes, please save your tears. I do want to add 3 things that are related. So I will say, to everyone else's benefit, I don't know how you say that. Like, everyone's complaining, like, oh, he's shifting blame to, people before him. He has been in office for 3 years, so I think it's kind of silly to be like, oh, well, I inherited this readiness for a pandemic. It's not my fault. He could have changed and been ready for a pandemic. Granted, 3 years is less than the 8 years that Obama had before him or the 8 years that George Bush had or whatever. But he is kind of to blame if he wants to blame prior administrations. But to that point, every time that somebody quotes Trump blaming prior administrations, they very conveniently leave out the fact that he's also, usually in the same exact interviews or same press conferences, saying that he does not blame the Obama administration, or saying that it's previous administrations, plural, everyone who's come before him, or that he's said that the pandemic really couldn't have been foreseen on this scale by anyone, so it's not really anyone's fault because we didn't see it coming. We thought we were prepared enough for a pandemic, just like we handled H1N1 or Ebola, but we didn't see something that's contagious coming, so it's not anyone's fault. So they kind of misreport when all they say is, oh, he's shifting blame to the Obama administration.
When in reality, you can't really blame Trump or Obama specifically, or any one person specifically, because this is just one of those things that, yes, both of those presidents could have prepared more for something like this, but quite honestly, who was thinking about it? I mean, technically,
Right.
It is their job to think about stuff like this, but
And
you
nothing
can't...
like this has happened since 1917 or 1918.
Yeah, so you'd think, maybe it's not quite as much a priority as some of the other things that they've faced in their administrations,
Another thing that always comes up with testing is that Trump rejected the WHO's tests, which is a completely unbased claim. They've confirmed that the WHO never offered the U.S. tests, and the WHO usually offers tests to people who can't develop them themselves. Also, the early hiccups where everyone's saying, oh, the CDC ruined the tests in the beginning, and they were just terrible and they didn't work. Actually, what happened is it's a 3-step test, and in one of the steps, which is not even crucial to getting a positive or negative result, had a bad reagent. So literally all they had to do was run the test without that 3rd step to get an accurate positive or negative.
So I've seen this one quite a bit. Quite a bit. I've seen it a lot. People are like, and it's like everybody. They're like, guys, I have the biggest brain. And they're like, I bet Trump is invested in this hydroxychloroquine, and that's why he's touting it. It's just not true.
So what is the truth, Cassandra?
Well, the truth
because
is
he is
that
invested in Sanofi. I don't know how to say it.
Sanofi. I don't know.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, so that's a company that makes Plaquenil, which I've never heard of. I might.
It's the brand name.
Reading this part. Okay. So they make chloroquine. But so do other companies, and he's invested through a mutual fund. So he's not like specifically. And how long has he been invested in this would also be an interesting thing to look at. Because why would he?
Probably a while.
Yeah, it's probably been a long time. He probably, unless he can see into the future, which according to some conspiracy theories, he is a time traveler. But anyway.
We'll never know. How much does he have invested in hydroxychloroquine?
So between $99 and $1,485.
Wow,
which,
he's a billionaire. He's gonna get so rich from that.
Personally, if I was president, I would 100% kill off my entire voter base for $100. I would. Who wouldn't?
He really would be killing all of the old people, which is who's voting for him.
That's something that is slightly off topic, but I would like to address real quick, is that I see a lot of people that are like, he's trying to kill people. And he doesn't care about old people, or even he doesn't care about New Yorkers because they're Democrats. Okay, I would like to address all 3 of those categories. First of all, he is old. Why would he want to kill old people? He's a New Yorker. Surely he has some love for New York. And 3, a lot of his voters are older people. I mean, let's face it, the older generations are more Republican. So why would he want to kill off his city, his age group, and his voter base?
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
But yeah, so basically a mutual fund is, Trump isn't going in and picking out companies to invest in. That takes a lot of time, and almost nobody can predict that accurately. So most people get mutual funds. And basically that is a way to spread your money across a bunch of companies you don't even pick. So he didn't go in and specifically pick this company and then hope to make profit off of it. His, advisors or whatnot, they were just picked a whole bunch of companies, and that was where his money was spread across.
And for all we know, he didn't even pick the mutual fund. He probably has managers who pick the mutual funds, and then the mutual funds are picked by mutual fund managers. It's just,
let's face it. I don't think he's spending his time Googling which stocks to pick.
No, he's spending all his time on Twitter.
Yeah, exactly. I was just thinking that. Also, I don't know if the viewers have noticed, or many viewers, might I add, but we're actually not together today. If you picked up on that subtlety, it's because we're properly observing social distancing now. So, yeah, we will be doing this indefinitely, I suppose. And I also would like to apologize for my setup being very bad, because I am not married to a videographer like my sister is.
I did this setup.
Okay, but your husband is a videographer, and
For
you've
sure.
been
And
around
he taught
him.
me everything I know.
Exactly. So, this is my setup. I'm actually going to move my camera because I'm so fancy. My setup is actually some toilet paper on a chair. I don't even know if that was. But yeah. So
That's
we
truly
just-
channeling some Hank and John.
But yeah, no, I specifically chose the toilet paper so that I could flex on everyone in this crisis. That's probably kind of mean, but oh well. I think I might have cut her